I am so excited to be talking to you, Kobe. And I did some digging, and this one, so threads. I actually really am enjoying threads, first of all. Do you like threads? So, do you have a lot of followers on there already?
I actually don't. I feel like I like comparable to my Instagram. I have like a tenth of the followers, but I am really enjoying the it's like Twitter minus the hostility.
Yes. I have like no followers on there, and I think I've never been happier because I'm not having to overthink anything that I'm saying. It just feels it's like the beginning of when I first had social media, so I'm really liking that. Okay, so I wanna read to people what you put out on Threads that just choked me a little bit. I had a moment. I screenshot it, I sent it to my best friend, I sent it to my husband. Okay, this is what she says. An unexpected sign that you are on the right track in your healing journey is experiencing burnout. That's because the life that you've built through the perspective and biological state of a traumatized person isn't sustainable for someone who is healing. Burnout is a reminder that you are identifying less and less with the views and values of the version of yourself that was most wounded. Burnout is also an invitation for you to build again and create a life that reflects your new values and perspective. Okay, as a like natural Enneagram 3 who has always tried to do more and more and more and more, and I'm healing from that. This really spoke to me. Unpack this for us a little bit. Are you saying that burnout could also be a positive thing?
Yes, I actually really enjoy burnout, not because I enjoy like the feelings. I do, I really do. And it's not because like, oh my gosh, I enjoy it, just how great this feels. But like burnout is a reminder that like your body, your mind, body, spirit literally cannot keep living the way that you have built your life. That like this is just not sustainable. We are, you know, shutting down. Like in the therapy world, we would call it dorsal vagal shutdown. Like your body is in a place where it's like, we can't do this. This ain't right for us. We're shutting down. And I think for a lot of us, we think that healing is going to give us more capacity for the things that we've been doing. But really, healing is giving us less capacity for the chaos that we've allowed ourselves to exist in.
Wow. So for so something I've been saying is I don't know in my own life, is this like I don't care anymore. And I've been trying to ascertain for myself, is this mean I'm quitting or am I in a healthier place? Like I want to write a book and do the best that I can do and let that be enough and not make myself sick over how many people bought it. I want to create content and let it be enough and know that I did it out of like integrity and sincerity. And it doesn't really matter if it was for 5 people or 5,000. So you're saying that that is coming from a healthy place, not like I've quit. Because sometimes it feels like, did I quit?
Yeah. And even if you did quit, what's wrong with quitting? If it's something you no longer have the emotional, mental, psychological value or energy for, what's wrong with releasing that? And I think that when we start noticing like the mental judgments and then meeting them with curiosity, we end up in a space where we start to shift our values. Like that's what it sounds like to me is like my values are shifting because I am changing. If I am changing, it's kind of like when you think about like climate on a big scale, like 2 degrees in my house, I might be able to feel that. But 2 degrees on a climate level, like the ice polar caps are melting, right? And a lot of us are making these 2 degree shifts in our lives in these really big areas. And we're getting kind of shocked at how much that 2 degrees has shifted everything else in our lives. Um, and it's okay for things to shift. I will also say this. I love burnout because burnout gives me the opportunity to actually discern what I can do and still have time for myself. Because now, when I am burnt out, I am doing the least amount of work that is still impactful. And because I'm at the bottom of my capacity, I'm building a life at the bottom of my capacity. What if we built lives at the bottom of our capacity and lived at that same capacity? Like, what if I did this much when I'm burnt out? And when I have this much energy, I still do this much because the difference between here and there is for me to enjoy life.
I'm still stuck on you saying, "What's wrong with quitting?"
Oh, sorry, I moved on quick from that.
Because I mean, that is a huge mental shift, I think, from the messages that we get from society. I mean, they would culture would tell us everything is wrong with quitting. Can you just unpack that a little bit for me and for the person listening who is on the feeling like, "But if I quit, it means I failed." Talk us through that.
Yeah, and I think asking ourselves, failed at what? Because we might fail at meeting other people's standards. That may be true. We might fail at seeing something all the way through. That may be true. But what happens when we don't want to? Because a lot of us have stuck at and seen through things that had no reward for us at the end. And we have to ask ourselves, am I okay with that? Am I okay with wasting the non-renewable resource of time to make other people happy, to appear a certain way? I think that many people, what I love about this generation, I think we're shifting into building lives that are good to us instead of lives that look good.
So I have friends, this is true, who are leaving six-figure jobs if it doesn't give them time to actually live their lives. And that I do think that that's unique of millennials. I mean, we're seeing kind of for Gen Z right now that they're like kind of swinging back to boomers. So I'm curious how, because they're watching us. Are you a millennial? I'm just assuming. Are you not? Okay. I shouldn't have made that assumption. I'm a millennial. Okay. And so I guess Gen Z is watching us like drowning in student loan debt and all these things. And they're like, not going to be me. So I'm going to work really hard and make as much money as I can. They're kind of having more of that boomer mentality. That's interesting. So you said in a viral TikTok, healing is not about becoming the best version of ourselves, but about letting the worst version of yourself be loved. That is, again, kind of this radical shift that I've not heard from anybody else. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I see a lot of clients who come in and they try to harm themselves into healing. They like try to beat themselves into being better. And they don't often see, without the intervention of someone else's perspective, that the means at which they're trying to make themselves better directly mirrors the ways in which they were traumatized. Like, you were deeply hurt because you experienced abandonment as a child, right? Or neglect as a child. Why do you think starving yourself to do well at work is going to help you heal? Like, you're just replaying that abandonment and that neglect towards yourself, right? And like, when we look back at ourselves, do we look back with honesty, with gratitude, with empathy, or do we look back with hate and disdain? Right. And I think a lot of us have been taught to look back at the past versions of ourselves and hate them and think that that hate is going to fuel us into love. That's just not how it works, right? Developing empathy for every version of ourselves that suffered, that made mistakes, that, thought too highly of themselves or thought too lowly of themselves. Looking at every version of ourselves and saying, like, that person deserved love, and that person made mistakes, but that person, you know, is not someone I'm going to choose to hate. That, when we're fueled by love, we get to experience peace. And I think that's why a lot of people, like, are doing all the, like, the psychology and the mental health and the therapy and all the things. And it's like, you are trying to change because you hate yourself, not because you love yourself.